Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Abira Said Freelancing Wali and I am a proud level 1 student at Rehan School Islamabad campus. Today we are a very special guest with us in come to my show the talk room Marcus. So Assalamu alaikum Marcus, how are you?
Assalamu alaikum. Very well, thank you, Abira. I'm enjoying this lovely Sunday afternoon and looking forward to talking.
Okay Marcus, so please introduce yourself for my audience who can watching you.
Okay, so I'm currently in England, but I live mostly in Finland, and I'm in a small village, and I grew up in this village. And after that, I went to Manchester. I lived in London for a short while, and then I went to Finland, where I studied at Uvascular University in social and public policy. And now I work for the Regenerative Development Association on sustainability in ecology.
Okay, so my next question is please tell me that what is the most important lesson you have learned in your journey?
In my journey, I think the most important lesson I've learned is that everyone has something to teach you. So if you listen not only from your own heart, but you listen from their heart and try and find the wisdom that's within their words, you too will grow in wisdom. And I think that's an important lesson.
Okay, that's great. It's amazing, Marcus. So my next question is please tell me that who inspired you the most in your career?
I think the person who's inspired me most is actually my grandfather, my maternal grandfather. He was somebody who was always cheerful and happy. And I can remember he would come out with he was Scottish, these different proverbs, such as things like, if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing well. And if it's not worth doing, just don't do it. And time is money. Time is money. So think about what you're doing. Think about that if you were being paid for every moment of the day and every second, what you should be doing. So he'd come out with these little sayings, and he did it in a cheeky, funny way. So I was always thinking, well, what am I doing now? Is it making sense? I think that's a really good way to think about developing a career. What am I doing? Where am I putting my actions?
Okay, that's great, Marcus. So my next question is please tell me that what motivates you to work for a better future?
I think many things motivate me. I mean, the first one is I just think it's an internal thing. I just feel that I want things to improve. I want them to be better. And as I look round, I think, oh, that's not very nice. There's litter on the floor. Why is that? So my curiosity makes me ask questions about this. And then I start thinking, well, wait a minute. Maybe somebody else has just been careless, or maybe they're tired. Or maybe we could do something different. Maybe we could change something. So here in England, I walk around and there's many bottles and cans on the floor that people have just thrown away. Not good. We've had lots of wildfires, and there's a risk that the sun could shine through these even plastic bottles and set fire to things. Then I go back to Finland and I find there's a recycling scheme. There's a deposit of 15 cents on every bottle. So people take them back to get the money. And I think we should have that in Britain. We should bring that into England. So this makes me think, oh, I can campaign. As I look around the world, I see other examples. So when I look at sustainability, you look at Pakistan, and it's quite advanced with some of the things that are happening. But who knows? Who knows about it? Who can tell? So I hope people like yourself can tell more people about the wonderful examples from Pakistan and not see Pakistan as a backward developing country, but say that Pakistan's got real innovation, is really leading on some things. And I think that's thing inspires me when I think, well, we could learn so much from other people. And I'm sure you could learn things from England and things from Finland and things from every country in the world and other people. And I like to share. So I think those all motivate me, wanting to share my curiosity and wanting to make things better just because I think well, they can be.
Okay, that's great. It's amazing, Marcus. So my next question is please tell me that what has been the most exciting part of your work?
I think the most exciting thing is perhaps the wrong question, but the most fulfilling thing is a better question. I think the fulfilling thing is when you see something successful. So if you've cleaned up an area and it's clean, you feel really good when you look at it and think, well, I've done that. When you see someone gain enlightenment or they start to do things differently, then that's really positive. When you've told people an idea and you hear them telling someone else and the people going, wow, that's interesting, that's always very inspiring. And maybe this is the heart of a poet. When you feel like a poetry comes when people are starting to change how they approach things. They're starting to think more of being in a community rather than complaining about problems and issues, and they start being proud of where they are. So I think those things happen, and then it spills over into the personal life. So some of the things I've done have been about foraging, And I've watched other people foraging, and then we start to collect mushrooms together. And that's really joyful when you think, well, I could go out and collect those chanterelle mushrooms and I can make a nice mushroom soup. Or as I did yesterday, I had picked blackberries and I made a blackberry pie. I shared it with lots of people and they're telling me, oh, it looks like a cartoon pie. That looks really tasty. I want some. So that's really great that I could do something so simple as pick blackberries, make a pie, show it to people, and they want to go out and pick blackberries and make a pie. So I think that's what I like, those little elegant things.
Okay, that's great, Marcus. So my next question is, please tell me that what has been the biggest challenge in your career?
I think the biggest challenge is there's a few funny words for it. They call it institutional lag or they call it organizational inertia. And that's people not wanting to change. You at Rehan School have an advanced way of looking at things because you're embracing AI, you're embracing technology. And so many other people are feared of it. They're fearful that it will damage them or hurt them, and they don't want to change. They're conservative minded. They just want to keep going on the same way they always have. But you are really looking out for some new ways and new approaches. And I think that's the challenge is that those of us who are activists or those of us who are looking to change things, we are obviously very positive and we obviously see the possibilities. But other people are not such early adopters. They're laggards or they're resistors. And that's the challenge is how to deal with other people who don't see your vision and don't see your futures.
Okay, nice, Marcus. That's amazing. So, Marcus, my next question is, please tell me that what achievements are you most proud of?
Well, I think you met my achievements because they're my children. So my daughter and my son, who are becoming independently minded and are able to function quite well in society. I'm very proud of them. Their achievements, I would say. Raising children is always an achievement.
Oh, that's great, amazing, awesome. So, my next question is, please tell me that what are the biggest environment problems facing the world today?
Well, people often talk of what they call the omni crisis, where they put all the things together. And we have these planetary boundaries that people have said there's or 12 planetary boundaries of different things that are going wrong. So it can be the heating of the planet, it can be the loss of wildlife, it can be things that we don't see, such as bad air. But I would say overall, the most worrying one is the loss of biodiversity. So this isn't an obvious thing to see, really. If you look at a forest and there's many kinds of trees, when you have less trees, it's less biodiverse. And that might not be obvious how it affects us. But the more we lose pieces of the puzzle, the more our reality falls to pieces. The more we have risks like COVID-19 coming out of the forests, the more we have plagues, the more we have less nutritious food. So that's the biggest worry, I think, is how can we support the wildlife? And I mean plants, animals, bryozoans, fungi, all of the animals and creatures and the plants and the almost plant-like things matter in that. They're all parts of the rich tapestry of life. And that to me is the biggest thing, is that people, one, they're not aware of those things, and two, they're not aware of the loss, and three, when they are, they often say, well, it doesn't affect me. You know, some beetle that dies away, who cares? Or who cares that we've lost some trees? So I think we've got to care about these things, but we can only care if we know about them. So I think learning about them is the first stage of that, learning what's there, learning how it's important, learning how it matters. And for me, that's happened very much when I think of what's changed in my lifetime, but also in my parents' or grandparents' lifetime, and how they would walk out and how they would see nature and what they see now. So even in my small village, we start to see less things. We see more factory farming. We see less hedgerows. We see less trees, and it makes a difference. If you've only got wood pigeons and you haven't got all the other birds, it doesn't look so nice. And if you haven't got all the plants growing, it's not so easy for me to go foraging and pick my blackberries or my cranberries or my blueberries or my whatever else I want to pick. So I like the diversity and I want it to come back. So that's where I would say to work the most.
Okay, awesome, Marcus. That's amazing. So, my next question is, please tell me that what can young people do protect the environment?
I think there's lots of things young people can do. The first thing is to be aware of it. So you need to go out yourself and you need to go on a walk. Just walk and see what you can see. You can do what they did in France. They were called the flaneurs. They would walk through a city and they would watch people and watch what they were doing and just observe them. just soak in life. So I think that's how you can start. You can start by walking, and you can walk for nature walks. You can walk as a flaneur. You can just see what's happening, and you start to notice things. Once you start to notice things, you realize, oh, we could do. So for me, walking is the first bit. I start to identify the plants, one plant a day or a week, and then I get lots. And I start to think, what can I do with them? Can I eat them? Can I make things out of them? And then that starts to change my relationship. So anybody can do that. Anybody can go for a walk. I talked yesterday when we had a presentation about uh, people can cook. I don't know if you cook, Abira. Do you cook anything? Are you a chef?
No.
Well, that's where you can start. You have to eat every day. You have to eat 3 or 4 times, I'm
Oh,
sure.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, sorry. Yeah.
So then you can start by thinking, what do you eat? And where does it come from? Do you grow it? Can you grow it? Is it local? Who's producing it? What's the story of the apple or the rice or whatever you have in your biryani? Then you can start to think, well, maybe this is the story. And then you can start to tell different stories. You can tell stories about where it came from, I don't know, your uncle's farm, for example, or your aunt's garden, or your little window box that you might have. So this is how I would start. I'd start with food.
Okay, that's great, Marcus. So my next question is, please tell me that how can students practice sustainability in their daily lives?
Again, you have to start to look around and see where you're not sustainable and then change to be sustainable. Maybe in some ways you already are sustainable. I don't know. But for example, the clothes that you wear, you will grow as a child and then the clothes do not fit you. What happens to those old clothes? Do you throw them away? Do you burn them? Do you recycle them? Do you swap them? So maybe you can do clothes swapping. Maybe at the end of the year in the school, everybody can bring their clothes and you can get the next year's clothes that are bigger for you. Same thing with books, same thing with toys. Maybe that's not what you want to do, but another possibility is a library. So in Finland, we have library of things. So you can borrow stuff from the library. You can borrow all sorts of things. You can buy musical instruments. You can borrow tools like drills and hammers. There are tool sets. You can borrow equipment like diving equipment or running shoes or skating shoes. And libraries are a really great way because you don't need a drill every day. Nobody needs to drill into the wall every day. So it's better if it's in the library. So then you don't buy lots of drills. Overall, we use less. It costs us less money, and the stuff's there to borrow. Somebody looks after it. So starting a library can be a really great way. Same thing with books. I like to have books. I have lots of books, but I don't really need so many. If I could put them in the library and I could get them, then maybe that's better. So maybe I could have a swapping thing with my friends. When I was at primary school, I used to get comics. So in Britain, the comics are the Beano and the Dandy, and maybe some others like Hotspur and I don't know. And there's lots of American comics with Superman and Batman, and I'm sure there are similar magazines as well. There were magazines for young women, young men, whole variety of different things. And I started to have with my brother, we had a little comic swapping library. So people could swap their comics with each other. So people could borrow comics. We didn't make money from it. It wasn't about making money. It was about sharing the comics. And that was much better. So that's another simple thing you can do is you can share resources. You can think about how do we share things. So young people can do that too. If you want to, you can start to be more involved and have a club of people that do things. So, for example, you can have a food sharing club where you meet once a week and you make food together. And that is more sustainable because you use less energy and less food resources if you cook at the same place for a group of people. So those are some of the things you can do. The other one that most people can do is active transport. So instead of using a car, is to go on a bicycle or to walk. And if you build that into your life, you can also change when you go. So instead of making 2 trips, one in a car and one on foot, just make one on foot. Those are a few simple things.
Okay, that's great, Marcus. So, Marcus, my next question is, please tell me that what is the sustainable habit that everyone can adopt?
Well, I think I just said everybody can walk, and we should walk. We should do enough exercise. I'm going to challenge you now. Have you done something called planking? So planking is like doing a push-up. You lay on the floor and you just hold yourself.
Yes.
Strengthens your muscles in your bodies. And so if you think about exercises, everybody can exercise. Simplest exercise, I say, is walking. So the best exercise is walking, swimming, and climbing. So if you build together a regime where you're doing that, and you do that with other people in nearby parks or places that are close, that helps to improve your health. And your health helps you to be more aware of what's in the environment. And then you think about your food, and then you go and think about eating sustainably, and you think about it locally. So it spills over, it has a spillover effect. So just by starting off within yourself and thinking about your own health and starting off by walking, most people can walk. So that's the way that most people can begin to engage in things. As you walk, you also think. So the walking doesn't just affect your weight, it affects all of your body. It's all connected, and it affects your mind as well. Your mind starts to work better and function better if you do enough exercise. And then you'll make wiser decisions. So simple.
Okay, Marcus. At Rehan school, in the one exercise, I am go to early morning at Rehan school. So there is a meditation at a one exercise, one activity at Rehan school. So I can do a meditation every day at Rehan school. So there is a good exercise. Yeah, please tell me that one exercise.
An exercise.
Meditation.
Yeah, meditation exercise.
Yes. There is a relax and breathe in and exhale. This one.
Yes, I understand. Yes. So a meditation exercise is if you close your eyes and you visualize before you, there's a couple of aspects to this. The first aspect is to visualize a cube. So you know a cube has six sides, and imagine the two sides, one facing you, the one opposite is red. And imagine all the sides on the other side are yellow. And rotate the cube in your mind. And then add a second cube and also rotate it. And think about this. And this is turning the wheels in your mind to make you focus on doing it. That's the beginning of the meditation. When you get good, you can bring more shapes in and you can start to manipulate them and move them around. So this will increase your mind power and your manipulative mind power. So that's a simple meditation. And you can move on to other shapes. You don't just have cubes, you can have a dodecahedron with 16 sides, or you can have a pyramid with 4 sides, and you can start to move them around in your mind. So that's a nice meditation exercise.
Okay, so thank you for giving me my question answer. So my next question is, please tell me that how can we reduce waste in our school?
You have to look at the whole process of where the waste comes from and where it goes to. So one example is a circular economy. So in your school, maybe you have paper and you print something on the paper. So then you have to think, well, what happens to that paper? Well, the other side of it could be used. So maybe you can use that in another process. So that reduces waste and it turns it from being waste into being a resource. You can try to look at that with more things in the school and see what else can be turned into a resource. And some things they can be going through a whole process. So they come into the school and they go out of the school. So that's one way of reducing waste, is to think about it differently. What's the purpose of this? And then if you spread that with other things, you try to design stuff in that isn't wasteful. I think it depends on which processes and products and things you have in the school as to how much you can do that with. And that might mean that you have to change the curriculum, or you might mean how you change doing things. So, for example, if you're working at certain times of the day and you have the lights on because it's dark, can you work at another time of the day, or can you work outside when it's light? And then you don't use so many resources. So,
Okay, that's great. So my next question is, please tell me that how can technology help us protect the environment?
the most obvious one we've talked about is becoming aware of the environment. So, things like Google Lens help you to identify the plants and how they can be used. You are an AI school, so you can also ask AI, and AI ought to be able to help you with some things. You have to be smart with the questions you ask. Now, AI doesn't create new stuff. I know it's called generative AI, but you probably know this. It's looking at what's already been done. And there are many solutions in the past. So I would think there's a nice blend that you can have of what's called traditional ecological knowledge. That's how people have lived in a community or in an ethnic group in a certain way, and certain skills and knowledge that they have. And then you can bring that with scientific knowledge. So maybe technology can help you to bring those together so things fit with your culture. There's a good cultural fit, and you can do technology transfer, and the technology helps you transfer those things. But I would say one thing, there's technology, and we often say technology, we just mean computers or we mean phones. But there's another side of technology, and that's called social technology. So that's how you interact with people. So a meeting is a social technology, a lesson is a social technology. So is a discussion group or a panel discussion. So are many different kinds of social technology. So perhaps something you need to consider is different kinds of social technology. And I want to tell you about one from Finland. It's called a lukupiri. It means a reading circle. And the Finnish reading circles work this way. Somebody has a text or an idea that they want to discuss. They present it to the rest of the group, and the group then talks about it in a circle. They maybe read about that. That's why it's called a reading circle. And they think, well, can we do this? Is it something that we can apply? Is it practical? Or is it just something theoretical that we just learn about the idea and get more awareness or think some ideas? So that's another simple thing you could do, which is a reading circle.
Okay, that's great. It's amazing, Marcus. So my next question is, please tell me that what role does education play in sustainability?
And it plays a big role because people have to become aware. And then there's particular kinds of education, such as global service learning. So global service learning is where people do things for the environment. So I did a solidarity berry pick. We had lots of people coming from Thailand that picked berries, but they weren't treated very well by the employers. The agricultural workers were exploited and treated unfairly. So a friend of mine set up a union to help support them. So I was teaching some Russian students from Tomsk University. They had to learn English. I said, we're not going to learn English in the classroom. We're going to go out and do something practical. So we went out and picked berries. We went on a trip and picked lots of berries, which they were happy to do. And then that was global service learning. That berry picking helped get them close to nature. We went on some visits and saw some different places where it was important to know about interactions with the natural world. And the berries we made into a jam, and we sold the Solidarity jam and gave the money to the Thai Berry Pickers Union. So global service learning can work in that way. You can think of other good things that can be done. So nature reserves might need some management. They might need some weeds pulling, or they might need some trees planting. So if you do that, then you will learn through education about which trees, and you'll learn the techniques of planting the trees. So that's one example.
Okay, that's great, Marcus. So, Marcus, my next question is, please tell me that why is climate change such an important issue?
Climate change is an important issue because it affects us all, and it's going to really change our societies. We have to do things differently. That makes it really important that we have to do things differently. If we don't do things differently, then we have, as we had this summer, incredibly hot and wildfire environments, and then we have terrible storms and thunderstorms, and this is not good for human existence or animal existence, so or plant existence. So I think that makes it really important.
Okay, that's great, Marcus. So, Marcus, my next question is, please tell me that how can individual do reduce the environment impacts?
The individual has to think not just individually, but also collectively. It's not enough to think on your own. For example, you have a family. You might say, well, I'm going to do this, but if the rest of the family doesn't do it, it only has a limited impact. But often it's women that have more impact on a family than men, strangely. Men maybe in many cultures are the ones that earn the most money, but the women often look after the household sphere and make differences there. And so women do things like they buy the food or they source the food or they do the cooking. So they can think how that will change. They can do things like thinking how the house is decorated or not decorated and where furniture comes from. So these all reduce the impact. If we want to think at a societal level, it's much harder. It's not easy for an individual to influence how a house will be designed or to make housing standards. But individuals for sure can link up with other individuals and then use their power to influence governments to make changes. So things like having solar panels on the roof or having heat pumps in the houses, those can make a difference from houses that haven't had those before. And there are many other design features like that in our lives. Clothing, transport, food, leisure, all can be affected by individuals.
Okay, that's great, amazing, Marcus. So, Marcus, my next question is, please tell me that what is the biggest mistake people make when taking about sustainability?
I would say the biggest mistake people make thinking about sustainability is that it's not really to change things. It's to find some way of carrying on business as usual, BAU, and that if they could just tinker around the edges or they just make this little change, it'll be okay. And that links into something which is called weak sustainability and strong sustainability. So the idea of weak sustainability is that we can just change things and they can carry on as they were before. Whereas strong sustainability says you can't just change things, you've got to do something radically different. That's a little bit hard to understand. It's a little bit like not so clear. But for example, you drink water and you could maybe replace water with drinking juice or milk. That's true. But you couldn't say, I can't drink anything at all. That wouldn't work. So if we have some dangerous things, we can't just replace them with other slightly less dangerous things. We've got to replace them completely. That's not a very good example. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's
But
good.
yeah.
This is a very good example for you. Say thank you. So, my next question is, please tell me that how can business become more environment friendly?
Well, business often works on the idea of growth, that it's going to grow and increase. That isn't so environmentally friendly generally. But one way businesses can become more environmentally friendly is to think about how they have a relationship with their customers. So businesses have moved often from selling a product and a service to being more oriented to selling a relationship. So, for an example, you could sell carpets. In each carpet you sell, you make an amount of money. But you could sell carpeting. You could sell an assurance that someone has a good carpet. If you just sell carpets, you want to sell as many carpets as possible to make as much profit. But if you sell carpeting, you don't want to have as many carpets as possible because you've got to pay to replace them. So much better is you want a hard wearing or durable carpet, and you want a carpet that appeals to people, so you'll make a better quality one. So if businesses shift in that way from a simple product to more of this servicing or relationship based business, that can work. So not every business can do that, but a lot more businesses can do it than have done it so far.
Okay, Marcus, that's great. So, Marcus, my last question is, please tell me that what does a truly sustainable community look like?
I give an example. If you look in medieval times, you can find a monastery, and a monastery in medieval Europe in the High Middle Ages, that was a truly sustainable community. Could be a monastery, or it could be a nunnery with monks or nuns, doesn't matter. And they produced their own food. They had their own infirmary in case anybody was ill, and they had their own scriptorium and library for learning. And they were a self-contained community that worked in harmony with the environment around them. So that's an ideal, but it's been realized in different places. So if you think about that kind of sustainability, how can we bring that to our villages or our towns? So that's how it can look.
Okay, so Marcus, please give me any message, any advice for viewers.
I think I've given you lots of different suggestions. It's hard to think about any more. I would say is to try to find like-minded people and to learn from them and share with them. Because by sharing with each other, we support each other. And it's very important that we have solidarity to do things.
Okay, so Marcus, thank you for giving me very, very precious time for me and for coming to my podcast, The Talk Room. So, this was our interview. I hope you like it. We will meet the next interview. Till then, Allah Hafiz, Pakistan, Zindabad.